Hello and welcome back to your space. In today's video, we'll be talking about challenging negative thinking. Our relationship with ourselves can be the hardest to maintain. Many of us suffer with negative thoughts, which can lead to low self-esteem and nervous habits. Recurring negative thoughts can also be a sign that our mental health is suffering. Oftentimes, these negative thoughts can appear without warning. An automatic negative thought, or ANT. This is a thought that unhelpfully tells you, I'm stupid, or I'm a failure, out of nowhere. It's like a tiny enemy has set up camp in your brain and is attacking and sabotaging you as you just try to go about your daily life. We can also experience negative thought spirals where our worries and negative self-talk play round and round on repeat. Each time, that impact deepening. We catastrophize. We imagine the most disastrous consequences we possibly can. We watch our world ending over and over in our minds. Without consciously meaning to, we feed our worst fears by imagining these continuously worsening outcomes. And we rarely search for evidence to support our concerns outside of a very narrow frame of mind. Frankly, it's very easily done. We can be caught up in a torturous imagining of our future rather than facing concerns in the present moment. We may even convince ourselves that this prison of our own making is safer than any of the alternative possibilities. But being stuck in our fears means that we're missing out and accidentally limiting ourselves in the process. Being an active and proactive force in our own lives requires work, but it's much more fulfilling than ruminating. So, how do we get there? Our first step is to recognize those ANTs, automatic negative thoughts. Whether that's an all or nothing mentality, like I failed a test, so I'm a failure. Mind reading, like Bob didn't say hello this morning, he must be angry with me. Or seeing things through a negative mental filter, focusing on the bad and ignoring the good. We can also be prone to labeling, for example, seeing ourselves as a bad person, or overgeneralizing, like nothing good ever happens to me. Negative thoughts could also come in the form of fortune telling, like what's the point? I can see where this is going. You might also find yourself comparing yourself with others and using that to feed your negative thoughts. Or even thinking emotionally, like, I feel so awful, that must mean I'm awful. You might find it helpful to write down some of these thoughts so you can get an idea of the kind of things you're telling yourself. Once you've taken stock of the kind of thoughts you've been having, it can be helpful to consider when you have these thoughts. Is there a pattern? Can you identify from that pattern if there's something that needs to change? Perhaps drinking less alcohol or spending less time in a certain environment. Explore how the thoughts make you feel. Find ways that you can challenge the thoughts. Is there evidence for or against what you're thinking? If you're worried something specific might happen, what are the chances? Is the worst outcome really that likely or even that bad? Try showing yourself some compassion. Think, how would a friend respond? We actually have another video about this called Being Kind to Yourself, which you might find helpful. Once you've thought these things through, reflect on how helpful this way of thinking is for you. Perhaps you can identify a more accurate or helpful way of looking at things. The next part is often the hardest. That's where we approach things differently based on our reflections and thoughts. You may have to practice changing your thought patterns or work towards changing your situation. There will also be times where the things that you're worrying about are quite legitimate, and that's where it's important to think about the things that we can control. In life, unfortunately, there are going to be lots of things that we don't have much power over. So it's important we focus our energy on the things that we can change and manage. With most things, they'll fall into one of these three categories: something you can control, something you can influence, and some things that are outside of your control or influence. It's much easier said than done, but try to focus on the things that you can control or influence. The rest is not down to you. Without a doubt, you'll still find plenty to do within the spheres of things that are within your control or influence. Remember that change takes time and progression isn't linear. We hope this has given you some insight into how you might manage negative thinking and worries or concerns you may be having. If you'd like to highlight any techniques that you use to help manage negative thinking, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.